Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply Life. I'm Keith Casebolt, and this little radio program was created by my friend Gary C. Johnson, who tries to keep our life simple. Thank you for trying, my friend.
It's wonderful. And today we're going to talk a little bit about problems and some other stuff.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? Everybody in their vehicle just turned up the radio and said, "What do you want to know? I can tell you all about problems."
Oh, Keith, I'm surely you don't have any problem.
Have you got, the program's only 30 minutes. Do you have an hour, maybe 2 hours?
Any of you folks out there that actually have no problems right now, raise your hand.
No hands. No hands.
Why is that?
Because it's life. I mean, if you live, you're going to have problems, aren't
If
you?
you eat, breathe, if you're trying to loaf, you'll have problems. If you're trying to do anything, you're going to have problems. Problems is a way of life.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Now, how do you deal with them?
Well, normally, Gary, I lay down on the floor and kick my feet, and I whine and I cry and I complain, and then I come to you and I get a good lesson on why I need to stop doing all those things. How's that for honesty?
The key to a problem is simple. Deal with it before it becomes a predicament.
Oh. Or as Barney Fife on our favorite show would say, nip it in the bud.
That's right. Look it in the eye, whether it's a person or whatever it is, and use your fine brain that each of you got that's listening to this program and deal with it. But somebody just said, you don't have a clue how many problems I've got. Deal with them same way, one at a time. Now, guess what, though? When you get through with those, some more will come along.
Never ending.
Because that's life. That's living life. Problems are a way of finding opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas Edison had a problem with a gas company because back then, you had, instead of electricity to run your lighting and things, everything was the gas.
Yeah. Gas lights.
And he didn't have any money, and the gas company wouldn't give him an extension, and they cut his gas off. So Edison had a problem.
A
Right?
big problem.
So what did he do about it? He said, I'm going to see if there's a way we can make electricity do the things that gas does, and I'm going to show them. So he started an electric company that eventually became General Electric.
Not General Gas.
Not General Gas.
Yeah. So
But it was a problem. He solved it and turned it into an opportunity.
So if we had never had this problem, had Edison never encountered this problem in his life, there potentially
He may not have had the incentive to invent the light bulb
he wouldn't have been motivated.
and to start dealing with electricity to see how much he could use it to replace gas.
You know, I bet right now while you're talking, there are a lot of our friends that are saying, I would have never got my job had this person denied me a raise. I would have never done this or become this had I not hit this obstacle or problem that motivated me.
This goes hand in hand with what I've said on this program in the past, and I'm going to say it again in case some of you didn't hear it. Every time that I've had a really bad problem,
Mm-hmm.
that's made me, as you say, want to whine and cry and get on the floor and start kicking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it's probably some of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Because it forced you to address them?
It forced me to address it. It forced me to deal with it. And it gave me opportunities and showed me opportunities that I never saw before. So, folks, I want you to think back on the problems that you've had that you've said, oh, no, 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 and you've whined and cried about.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, isn't it some of the best things that's ever happened to you? Or maybe the best thing that ever happened to you?
Well,
You see it all the time.
and you've pointed out to us before that if you're in a place right now where you're happy, it's because of those problems led you down the road to that happiness.
Well, you can't be happy if you've never been unhappy.
Oh, boy. Isn't that the
Right.
truth? Yeah. Let's go back to this problem becoming a predicament, because I think you hit on something there. You're kind of telling us that we have to be accountable. In other words, we know when there's a problem brewing. And the longer that we ignore it, the longer that we go without addressing it, and then it turns into the predicament.
Well, when the old head goes down in the sand, there's something sticking up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put your head in the sand when it comes to a problem. Look at it realistically. Write it down. Write down ways you can deal with it. Think about it. And think until you figure out how to deal with it. I promise you, you have the brain power to do that. But if you ignore it, and if you pretend there is no problem, it will only get worse, and it may stay around long enough to become a predicament that you can't get out of.
Why is it, Gary, that we can talk to other people and give advice, sometimes even unsolicited advice, about their problems, and we can tell them, all you got to do is this, you need to do this, it'll be okay, do this, but then when it comes to our problems, we struggle with coming up with the answers.
Number one, we don't want to accept them.
We don't want to admit that
Don't want to admit we got the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not very happy if you admit you've got a bunch of problems, right?
Well, yeah, that's going to get you worried right there.
But you'll be amazed how happy you can be when you sit down and figure out how to deal with them. The old dopamine flows.
You get a little pat on the back.
Your brain rewards you immensely.
I'm proud of you for stepping up and taking on this problem.
And there's just all kinds of problems. In that book, The Difference Maker by Maxwell, he was talking about a problem this woman had. She was charged with murdering her third husband.
Her third?
Third. And she was on the stand, and they were cross-examining her. And her problem was the third husband, that she had to figure out what to do with. This lawyer said, "What happened to your first husband?" And she said, "Well, he died of mushroom poisoning." "What happened to your second husband?" "Well, he died of mushroom poisoning." "Well, what about the third?" She said, "Oh, he died of a concussion." Lawyer looked at her and said, "How did that happen?" She said, "He wouldn't eat the mushrooms."
If he would have only eaten the mushrooms, he could have been like the first two husbands.
She had a solution to that problem. It didn't work. She improvised.
Man didn't want to go along with the plan. I see the problem now. So you have got to a point in your life where when a problem comes, you're embracing it as an opportunity. You're now looking at it that if you can solve this problem, which is what you do on a daily basis, you solve other people's problems. When you do that, the reward comes.
More likely than not, if you have a really bad problem right now, my friends, that if you think and put your brain to work, you can turn it into an opportunity. If you don't think and put your brain to work, it may very well evolve into a predicament that you can't get out of.
So basically, Gary, all the great inventions that we have in the world today is because someone looked around and said, here's a problem that needs to be fixed, and I have an idea on fixing it.
And I'm going to take care of it. It's like this one guy, I forget his name, had a rubber mat that he stood on. He was a printer, so he wouldn't slip. And the other employees kept stealing it from him so they could stand there. So what did he do? He invented rubber heels for shoes.
Isn't that amazing?
Gillette.
Mm-hmm.
Gillette razors, right?
We're all familiar with those.
Well, he had a real hard beard to deal with, and he was constantly having to sharpen his razor. So what did he do? He invents the disposable razor that you use it once and throw it away. Therefore, Gillette.
So no more sharpening the razor because you can use the disposables and they're always going to be sharp.
Right, and throw them away.
Again, he saw a problem. Now, the old saying is, what you can tolerate, you'll never change. So these people got to a point to where they said the words, I can't stand this anymore. I'm going to do something about it.
Adversity is one of the mothers of invention.
Yeah.
Necessity is a mother of invention. Problems are a mother of invention.
Well, I'm so glad you got on the subject because when you came in, you and I were getting a cup of coffee, and I said, Gary, we've got a lot of problems in the world right now. And you immediately looked over and said, whew, we got a lot of opportunities to fix things.
Anything that you and I can have any input into, I'm not too worried about. It's the stuff we have no input into that I'm worried about a little bit. But
yeah,
in the same sense, if I can't fix it or deal with it, I really don't give it a second thought.
But you also have the faith that someone will come along that can.
I'm hoping. But in the same sense, I do not waste my brain power and my sense of well-being worrying about something I can't have any control over or change, which means I don't have hardly anything to worry about.
And let me, I'm guessing why. And the reason why is you're too busy trying to address the things that you can.
It's not that I'm too selfish.
Yeah.
It's me. I get to control how I feel, and I get to control how I look at things. I get to control whether I feel good or bad. That's my power, right?
Yeah.
Now, if there's things out there that are bad that I can't do anything about, why would I waste 1 minute thinking about them?
You know what I love about this, and maybe some of our friends don't want to hear that they have the power, they have the authority, but I just saw a friend over the weekend that had lost 65 pounds since December. And I asked this individual, I said, how'd you do it? And he said, I woke up one morning and said, I'm tired of this. I'm going to lose 65 pounds. That's how I did it.
Right.
This person made a decision to take control, basically what you're telling us right now.
He probably had some health problems.
Did?
But he decided that he better deal with them.
Nip it in the bud before it become a predicament.
Before it become a predicament he can never get out of. Right.
There's going to be some people that say, wait a minute now, my problems they're bigger than that and they're harder than that, but you're going to stick to the gun that if they decide to change it, that they can.
Understand your power, my friends. Understand your intelligence. The good Lord didn't put you on earth without giving you the ability to think and survive. You wouldn't have been born otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you have the ability. You may not know it, you may not believe it, but you truly have the ability to work through your problems and make them go away. You have the ability to think how to deal with your problems and make them go away.
You know, the other thing you said the other day when you and I were talking, you said, Keith, there may be areas that you can't do. Maybe you're not a mechanic. You can't fix your car, or you're not a carpenter, or you're not a doctor. But there is an expert in all of those fields. If you don't know how to fix it, ask somebody that knows.
And maybe trade them something you can do that they can't do in exchange for it. But don't be embarrassed to ask somebody to do something that you can't do. Now, if I want to listen to music, I'm going to have somebody that knows how to play the guitar or the banjo or something, or I'm not going to be able to listen to music.
Yeah. But you know what I find really amazing today with today's technology? Whatever it is that you want to ask about, if you can get to a computer or get to a smartphone, there's somebody doing a video or showing you how to do it.
That's right.
There's somebody that has been there and done that.
But now don't forget, there are some people that can't drive a nail.
Oh.
Even if they show you how to drive a nail, you still can't drive a nail because you have to have enough hand and eye coordination to hit the nail.
Now, wait, friend, I'm going to take up for you because driving a nail is not as easy as people say it is. I've been put in that situation and had a father who said, you know, you've been another one. You might as well get out of the way and let me have it.
You have to have hand and eye coordination to drive a nail.
Yeah. You said something very important, though. We underestimate ourselves, don't we? When we start saying, I've got these issues or I've got these problems and I don't know what to do about them, we're underestimating our ability.
I guarantee you that 99% of my friends that's listening to this program underestimate themselves. And they argue with other people that look at them and say, we know you can do this, we know you can do that, because they put themselves down. And you don't have to. You have the power not to. You have the power to build yourself up, my friends. You have the power to look everybody in the eye and say, I'm unique. It's you. And you are. How are they going to deny you're unique?
You know, I find this amazing that when you sit here and tell people that they're unique and they're special, that people will argue against it. I mean, that people are not willing to believe others when they tell them that they're special, they're unique, they're intelligent, but yet they'll believe the first person that comes along that tells them they're not worthy. That part I don't understand. Why are we willing to take the criticism, but we don't take the good
praise
stuff?
And the
accolades that go along with it.
I think to a certain extent it's part of our Eastern Kentucky culture.
You get beaten down for so long that
That's right.
You get used to it?
Well, you don't have a lot of stimulation in our area. It's getting better. It's improving dramatically. And it tends to breed a sort of a pessimism.
Yeah.
But now none of my friends that's listening fall for that anymore.
Not anymore.
Nope.
At one time we did.
They're positive.
Yes.
And they know how unique they are. Hey, okay, guys, I got a test for you. The next time anyone does anything that tries to belittle you in any way or put you down, I don't care who it is, look them in the eye and say, I am unique, and I'm going to accept the fact you are, even though I'd like to tell you you're not.
I'm going to let you in the club.
I'm going to let you in the club.
Even though I don't want to.
That's right. And do it. Just do it.
You know, another thing that you and I were talking about the other day, I made the point. I said, well, you know, Gary, if more people lifted you up instead of putting you down, and you said, Keith, that's not the problem. It's not the people putting you down. It's our own people putting themselves down. You are your worst enemy. If you'll stop doing it, others can see what you're talking about.
No one can put you down without your permission, period. Except maybe your children. Again, that's always the exception. The only person that can ever make you feel bad and unworthy is you. Now, why in the world would you do that to yourself? You know, you wouldn't even do it to a stranger.
No.
But yet you do it to yourself.
You will say things to yourself
You
and
say
about
mean
yourself
things to yourself.
that you would never say to anybody, probably not even your worst enemy.
And the next time you start saying something to yourself that's not very flattering, ask yourself, would I say this to a stranger? Would I say this to my best friend? Then why in the world would I say it to me when I should be my own best friend?
If anybody's going to root for you, it should be you, shouldn't
If anybody ought to be rooting for you, it's you.
Yeah.
And you can't sit around and wait for the rest of the world to root for you. They're not going to do it.
But you know, it comes so natural. It is the thing that gets me about that. It is so natural that it slips out. The other day I was talking about my age. And you said, there you go again, Keith. You slipped back into it. You're sitting there talking about your age and talking about things that you wanted to do, and you don't even realize you're coming out with negative.
And you're not even talking about the things you're planning on doing.
Yeah, the complete opposite. And I stopped and I said, Gary, those words came out of my mouth, and I didn't even realize what I was saying.
It's a constant battle, my friends, to understand your own worth. And that battle is generally with yourself, because others probably more likely than not recognize your worth.
Probably tell you, and you refuse to accept it.
Right?
It would be interesting to have our individuals to ask their best friends or their closest people around them, what do you think my best features are? What do you think my best skills are? What do you think about this or that? And to find out. I think they would all be pleasantly surprised of what others think of them.
And if someone starts saying to you, you don't have any, or negative things to you, get that person out of your life.
Yeah.
Remember the Dale Carnegie book when the wives club, the women in the club, said to each other, we are going to go and ask each of our husbands to write down everything they would like to change about us. And we'll all bring it back next week and discuss it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they went around the room and got up to about 7 or 8 of them, and they listed all kinds of things that the husbands wanted to change about them. This one woman, they asked her, well, what did your husband say? He said, well, he went out and bought me a dozen roses and come home and put them down in front of me and said, there is nothing I would change about you.
Good answer.
Huh?
Good answer. The best answer.
Unbelievable intelligent answer. And so that's my point.
Now let's see. Out of all those couples, who remains happily married? And who didn't have to sleep on the couch that night?
That's right.
But that was the right answer.
And it's what all the husbands should have done, because they married that person, the person, with all the frailties that come with being human.
Exactly.
And they should accept those, whatever they are, and move on. Because if you start changing one thing about a person, it's not that person anymore.
And as you've pointed out to us, who has the time to try to change anybody else when you've got so much work to do on yourself?
Nobody has the power to change another human being. The only power you have is to change you.
And that's a big job, isn't it?
And that is a full-time battle.
So, first of all, you've got to have the want to, right?
That's right.
You've got to look and say, here's some problems that I have discovered in my life that I want to change. Then second of all, you're going to say, I'm going to put together a plan. If you don't have the plan, then go seek some advice.
And you will be amazed if you start thinking and using your brain what it will come up with. And it may be 2 o'clock in the morning when your eyes pop open with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because your subconscious it'll come in and start trying to help you. It really will.
You know, I thought over the weekend about the criticism I was giving about age. Regis Philbin, the television show host, passed away at 88. I didn't realize that he didn't get the show in New York till he was 56. He didn't get syndicated till he was 60. He didn't get Who Wants to Be a Millionaire until he was in his 70s. He passed away at 88. This guy did all of his best work from the time of 60 to 88.
Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders.
65.
65 when he did Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
And what you were saying is the absolute truth. It's never too late for anybody if you've got today.
If you dwell on your regrets, you will never go forward. And my friends, every one of you that don't have regrets in your life, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Don't believe there was any hands raised.
No.
But you can't dwell on them. You can't think about them. That's gone. That's over. You're here today and you're moving forward. Forget the regrets. Don't even think about them. You can't change it. But you can change what happens to you today and tomorrow.
I like the way you put it. There's going to be problems. As long as you're alive, there's going to be problems. The only difference is how you address the problems.
And how do you do it? How do you deal with them? How do you look at it? And whether or not you're going to be positive
mm-hmm.
whether or not you're going to be happy.
You know, see, when I sit here and listen to you talk, it's like nothing is too big. Climbing Mount Everest, let's go. I mean, you make it sound so simple that you can just tackle the problem and move on.
Training your mind is a lot harder than
Climbing Mount Everest. Yeah, I think
getting
you're
those
right.
old negative thoughts out of your brain is a lot harder than climbing Mount Everest. But it can be done.
And the time to start
It's today, right
is
now.
today, right now. My friend, this was needed because there are problems in the world. There's problems in our own community. There's problems in our lives. And now we know how we're going to try to face them.
And we're going to deal with them, and we're going to go forward. And we're going to look at them as opportunities.
I love the quote. When in doubt,
Go forward.
go forward. You can catch Gary's television program Tuesday nights on WYMT, your CBS affiliate, at 7 o'clock. A late-night replay is in Central Kentucky on WKYT. If you decide to get up early in the morning, on Mondays and Fridays at 6:30 on your Fox affiliate in Central Kentucky. If you need to get in touch with Gary, you can do that. Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. My friend, whatever problems come our way this week, we're going to take your advice.
And we'll never let them become predicaments.
Indeed. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith K. Spolt. Thank you so much for taking this time to tune in. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.